Hello, welcome to Osoroshii Saturday. I'm your host, Unrested, and this is the show that deals with the darkest aspects of Asia's myth, legends, and lore. Tonight we deal with what many would consider as one of the darkest aspects of Japanese history, the dropping of the atomic bomb over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Many know that when the bombs are dropped, everything at ground zero is either vaporized or fused with the environment around it. But what many may not know is it's not just structures and buildings that are fused. It's human souls, as we find in tonight's story, the tale of Soulburn Temple. My day started as any other, browsing through a list of the newest paranormal buzzings around most parts of Japan. I'll be honest, most of these were often hoaxes and cries for attention. But it was during this scan of letters that one in particular grabbed my immediate attention. It was from my old Gaidon University professor Nishiyama, head of the Japanese mythology department. His letter congratulated me on my recent endeavors in exploring Japan's history and paranormal realms, as well as a personal request of Nishiyama. Polite and without the stress of obligation, Nishiyama asked me if I could explore the rumors of spiritual activity encompassing a nearby temple in his hometown of Nagasaki. Without even finishing the message, I immediately reserved online tickets for the Shinkansen out to Nagasaki and left that very same day. I have always valued and respected my educators, and knew that although I could never truly pay Nishiyama back for the priceless information he had taught me over the years, I could, at the very least, do him this one small favor by investigating an area his now aging body would no longer allow him to travel to. 15 minutes after arriving in Nagasaki, I began following the directions leading me to the newly rebuilt temple's location. Entering through the first torii gate, the most noticeable aspect of the temple grounds was, well, the fact that it was crowded. Crowded with tons of tourists and local practitioners of the Buddhist and Shinto faiths, respectively. Almost all of the sites I investigated were virtually ghost towns or populated by hermits who rarely left their houses to walk the streets, so this was an entirely new paranormal environment for me, and one that puzzled me as to how there weren't loads of paranormal sightings recorded within a perpetual influx of large crowds. This being said, I realized I needed to read the professor's email in whole to fully understand what I had gotten myself into, and how I was to, quote-unquote, trigger the sightings of spirits said to be lurking in various places around the temple. Lucky for me, the ever-wise Nishiyama had listed step-by-step instructions of how to open a sort of spiritual oculus into the world of hauntings that secretly layered over these holy grounds. To clearly explain the process I was instructed to execute, I have relisted the professor's steps verbatim. Number 1. Arrive before 11:01 a.m. Number 2. Walk the grounds of the temple in a clockwise motion while going through the following motions in this order. Wash your hands at the Shinto fountain at the East Torii Gate. Walk through the well-wishing ring near the votive shrine. Spin the prayer wheel under the A-Oni and Un-Oni. Finally, before leaving, make sure to shake the humble monk's staff of humility and pray to the Shinto Shinigami, death god, that he may allow a pathetic mortal like yourself to peer upon the realm beyond this one. Leave no later than 4:44 p.m., out of respect for the dead and the death god. I followed Professor Nishiyama's directions to a queue, but was a bit disappointed with the images I had captured on the camera. Scanning my pic files on my way out, I found not a single paranormal disturbance. Not in one single picture I had taken. I chalked my journey up to another hoax and left, disappointed. That night I returned home with an aching head and the heavy feeling of sleep upon me. Without going through my normal bedtime ritual, I placed my camera upon my nightstand and immediately fell into a restless sleep. My dreams that night were wrought with horrific terrors and nightmares. Tortured screams split through air raid sirens as whistling bombs leveled crumbling lands around me. Through blasts and flashes of explosion, I saw horrific images. People moving at unnatural angles and speeds as though sped up on an old-time film in a strip that lacked the frame rate needed to allow people to move naturally. In between, ghostly Japanese voices groaned in pain and extreme agony. Flesh fell from their bones in melted chunks. Mutilated visages and limbs cried and reached out to me in suffering tones. Alas, there was nothing I could do. From my fly-on-the-wall POV, I could do nothing but watch in wrenching empathy, my heart aching for these innocent civilians, brutally snuffed out by the harsh and unforgiving machines of war. With a final explosive crescendo, I was shaken awake by my own leaping heartbeat. In a terrifying dream world, what had I just witnessed? What messages were the spirits of Soulburn Temple trying to tell me? I felt a sudden pull to stare into my camera, to look at the images once more, if only to pay homage to those who suffered through the horrors of the atomic blast. It was then I realized certain pictures had caught tortured spirits among the random snapshots. Looking at timestamps on each, I realized every picture taken after 11:01 a.m. was affected. 11:01 a.m. the very second the bomb had hit Nagasaki.
Thank you so much for joining me once again on Osoroshii Saturday. A big thank you out there for all who donated pictures, music, and stories for this episode. As always, we welcome anything and everything you have to give to the show and would love to continue to raise the quality with your stories, creepypastas, urban legends, and tales of Asia. Until next time, I'm your host, Unrested, taking you to the darkest realms of this world and beyond.